Welcome back. Daily show on this Wednesday morning. It is the 30th day of July. It is 10:19 now on the clock. And, our conversations with Centerstone continue. Charity, very sorry for that slight delay as we went over time on that last conversation, but great to have you now. And I'm excited to talk about this next component of Centerstone as we've been doing for a couple of years now. And fill me in on Pathways if you could.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Pathways, I might be biased, but it is a really awesome, fairly new program for the whole state of Illinois. It is funded by HFS, which is the Illinois Department of Healthcare and Family Services. And we work with Medicaid enrolled youth under the age of 21, but we actually work with their entire family. So when we get referrals for our kiddos, our care coordinators will meet with the families. What's really exciting about this program is it is kind of like the old school RAP program. So this is going to age me, but when I first started out in the field of social work about 26 years ago, RAP was the thing. So we would have families and we would see what their needs were, and then we would wrap all those providers together. And then that kind of through the years kind of went somewhere. But the state has brought it back. And so the Pathways to Success program is a wraparound program with the goal of building families' strengths, resiliency. We're working to try to reduce higher needs, crisis intervention. We're trying to get kids away from inpatient placements and residential placements by providing them with connections to different providers and services in the community. So we actually Centerstone has two areas that we work in. So we are down in the south, like Carbondale, Marion area. And then we also are more local for all of your listeners in the Madison, Calhoun, Jersey, Greene, Macoupin, Montgomery, and Bond counties in this area.
So Charity, if it's okay, just given your extensive background in social work, I wanted to ask you, this is something that we're kind of dealing with just here in the Alton area, and that's, youth and whether they're exploring different paths to their life, whether it's, not maybe the school path, maybe it's a bad path, crime, you name it. I'm not here to judge anybody or put them or paint them into a corner, but we hear all the time that, or not all the time, but we hear these arguments with it, it starts at home. It's about the lifestyle we have growing up. And I'm sure that we're all in agreement with that. And it seems like this Pathways program, when you guys encapsulate and you bring in all these different components of that child's life, it seems like to me this could be big growth for that certain sector, because sometimes we all need a wake-up call as a parent, as an individual that's maybe hosting a talk show on a Wednesday, or somebody that's just walking down the road going through life because we don't see it with our tunnel vision eyes. How important do you think is to have the wraparound services that encapsulates all of that specific need for that person, regardless of who they are, in order for them to succeed?
Well, I think it's huge. So that's why I am so excited about this program, because first of all, it puts our care coordinators in that youth's home, which provides them an opportunity to really see some things that maybe you wouldn't. I've done in-office therapy, and there's huge value to that. But I do think being able to go into a youth's home and visit with that youth and the family and really get to see the dynamic of the home environment is huge. And then with this program, we are building what we call child and family teams. So we're trying to encourage the family to pull people that maybe they wouldn't normally think of as part of a support network, because it does take more than just, parents to raise our kids these days. And so the child and family teams has them really kind of looking for not only professional supports, so therapists, school social workers, we're trying to pull in pediatricians on these teams, but it also pulls in who else could be your natural supports. Is there a helpful neighbor or a mentor to your child, or a church member, or someone who's an extended family member that may, be able to provide support when you need it. So I think it's huge that we can come in and really not only focus. I think a big shift that has happened is, again, back in the day, we used to go into homes and say, okay, this isn't going right for you. Here's how to fix it.
Yeah.
This program kind of shifts gears and really leans on the family. They're the expert of their own family. So we're there to really listen what's worked for you, what's not worked for you. And the same thing with the youth. Our care coordinators spend a lot of time with that youth, talking to them like, what do you want to get out of life? How do you want your family to change? How do you want your school life to change? So just spending that time really hearing their voice. And part of the motto of the program is family voice, family choice.
Well, and
so giving the family, every family member, the opportunity to talk about really what is their family vision? What do they want support with? What do they want to work on? Has been a huge, just in we've been running since March 2023. We've just seen so much progress, shifting gears and making the approach in that direction.
Just a follow up to that real quick on what you said, having that family, what's the family, mean to you? What's that family dynamic mean? How many times do you or somebody a part of this program run into family members that don't know? And I don't know if that sounds cold or I don't mean for it to be, but it seems like, and this is just, I'll take it out of my own notebook here, we all get angry or get in our emotions sometimes because we don't think things are going right for us specifically in that category. But if we don't verbalize and define what the goal is of this dynamic, what we want out of it, we'll never obtain a goal and always be unhappy. And that's just kind of my takeaway from this.
Sure. It actually happens a lot.
I bet.
And I think, and I, even personally for me with my own family, we get in the daily grind of things. What do I have to do today? And we really sometimes miss an opportunity to set goals for ourselves and our family. And so there are a lot of times that working with families, that we really have to spend a lot of time exploring this, because just life is in front of them. And sometimes it's very hard to see the next day, the next 6 months, the next year, where do you want to head? Because they're just trying to survive this day. So that is a huge part of when our care coordinators are going out and getting to know the families, trying to shift that focus to what do you want your family and your life to be like? It throws them off. It throws me off too. Thinking about trying to move away from just the daily grind and focus on. But you're right. Without that kind of vision and those goals, it's hard to meet those.
Well, and I wanted to, and I know I'm asking you follow-ups, but it just kind of goes right in line to this conversation. Do you ever run into, or like I said, the care coordinators, whoever's a part of this, are there other family members that are struggling and don't necessarily know it? Because, we know our older generation, right? It's work through it and we'll be fine, or let's go out and relax afterwards and call it a day and it was just stressful. Whenever you incorporate all those aspects to the family, do other situations develop from that for good or for bad? Like, hey, dad, mom, grandma, whoever, caregiver, we're talking with you the last 2 weeks, and we notice that there's a lot of this, stress or whatever circumstance that's falling on you, and you might have this you're dealing with, whether it's depression, manic depression, or any type of mental health disorder. I've been diagnosed with OCD and manic depression. I get it. I've lived it. How many people do you guys talk to that go, wow, we had something going on that for years we just kind of band-aided and just moved through it?
It happens quite often, and that's why it's very exciting that
I bet
we get to work with the entire family, because we can provide them an opportunity that we can get them connected with resources, whether it's outpatient therapy or family counseling, or even just we have what's called family resource developers that can come out and spend just time with the parent or guardian, focusing on, what are your needs? And, it's stressful being the head of a family. It's stressful being a parent or a guardian. And so giving them an opportunity to also meet their needs and look at, what's going on with me. And I think sometimes when we have a child that is struggling, whether it's mental health or behavioral health needs, our own needs as parents or guardians can sometimes get put on the back burner. But kind of what you just said, we know that has a huge impact on how the family functions. So being able to provide them an opportunity to also seek treatment or get them linked with other resources, has been a really great asset to this program.
You know, can I, and I don't want this to sound as a negative because it's not, it's just a growth for the conversation question. Do difficulties in a parental dynamic or a guardianship dynamic impact that child at all? Where they could cause, severe anxiety because mom and dad are fighting about who gets to keep the child for the longest or who's paying bills, and it spills over to where that child hears it. Do those conversations from the older adults and family members play into or cause the start of a mental health disorder for children?
I mean, sure, it can have definitely have an impact. Any kind of family dynamic, like you're speaking, it's difficult for adults to understand that dynamic. And then
Right.
you throw in, like you said, a youth that maybe overhears things and doesn't understand. We see kids a lot of times in those situations internalize it. This is my fault. I've done something. So then, of course, that will have an impact on how they're functioning.
Mm-hmm. Well, and what I think so cool about Pathways and just what you all do with this is that there's some specialized therapies that go above and beyond what we're all used to. And just like the equine therapy, to be able to be out with horse, like people are going to laugh at me right now, Charity, because I'm a big believer in getting folks out with nature, going on a farm, going and being a part of something. And the horse connection, and we see it with veterans all the time, how they help so much with PTSD and they help combat so many of these issues. This equine therapy program, take me through that and some of the other different therapies that you guys offer for these folks, because to me, that's the icing on the cake for what you all do.
Sure, it's my favorite part of
I
the
bet it
program,
is. I mean, you're
actually.
adding so much to this.
So the part of the program is that we can submit and get a request for specialized services, like you said. Equine therapy is one. We have two local places that we use, and it has been phenomenal. Just to be able to, like you said, I'm a firm believer that everybody, not just kids, we've got to get outside and be with
100%.
nature. But having that kind of connection with an animal has been so great for these kids. It really has. And then we have other resources: art therapy, music therapy, karate classes, gym memberships. We've really been able to connect kids and families with some great services that have not just supported the natural therapy environment that they would be in. It's kind of an extra level that we have seen great success with.
Well, and on top of the therapies, we were just talking, because I know I asked you a kind of a lot of very serious questions at first. The reason I asked those is because you guys answered all of those questions with the Pathways program, including the financial assistance for enrichment, because, so many times life's expensive anyway, but when it comes to sensory items and different resources, I mean, those are things we can only dream of as parents for most of us in certain income brackets. Take me through what you guys provide for those families when it comes to financial assistance for enrichment.
Sure. So another part of the program is being able to request from HFS that we can support families in regards, and we do have to show a need for it. So we submit a request. This is what's going on with this family member. Here's how we think this would help improve functioning, mental health. And so it could be anything. We have had sensory items such as weighted vests, weighted blankets. We've helped with transportation just because we know, in our area, sometimes it's very difficult to get to some of these supplemental services. So we've been able to help provide some bus passes. And then in regards to personal care items, we've purchased some beds for some families.
Wow.
That we do have great in the Alton area. There is some great resources for beds and personal care items.
Can I ask you, not to cut you off, is that like a Sleep in Heavenly Peace thing, or is that through? Okay, just wanted to ask, just to kind of connect the dots for our audience.
Yes, so we've connected with them, but they do have a wait list because they are one agency and much needed service. So we were able to purchase, and how cool is it to get an Amazon delivery of a bed? Like we've been able to do that for some of these kiddos. I love it. I love that I can just order stuff on Amazon and send it to a family.
Well, and now, just to kind of, as we keep this conversation going, we've been talking for almost 20 minutes, and I've been enjoying literally every bit of it. It's flown on right on by. I wanted to ask you about requirements for eligibility when it comes to this. Is this for Medicaid exclusive children, or how does this work? How can we be a part of it?
Yes, so the youth do have to be under the age of 21 and in a Medicaid enrolled program. So it could be straight Medicaid, Aetna, Meridian, Molina, one of the Medicaid companies. And then there isn't a requirement for them to have an IMCANS, which is an assessment that the state of Illinois uses. And there are certain scores that put them into the range where they would meet our program. So I would say if you have a youth or family that's interested, to contact Centerstone, get a hold of me, and we can do an assessment to see if that youth would qualify.
What makes your care coordinators so good at what they do when it comes to this program? Because to me, it's that first step that's the most important. Just after all the talking we've done and all the great incentives with this program, it seems like that first step could really make or break somebody's experience when it comes to this program. What are your thoughts on that? Am I onto something, or take me through that dynamic a little bit?
Sure. So let me speak to just the difference of the program,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
I do think meeting with families, like I said, I'm aging myself, but I've been in the field for a very long time. And I think one of the things that's different about this program is we really do go by family voice, family choice. So like I said, in the past, old social work days from when I started off right out of school, we would get assigned a case, we'd go in, we'd say, this is not going well, you need to change this, in a nice way, but still, that's how we functioned 20 years ago. We'd create a service plan for them, and then we'd ask them to follow it. This is completely different. So I think for families to understand that our care coordinators are coming in, they're going to spend some time getting to know you. One of the big parts of the program is, what are your strengths? So we don't just come in and say, well, this isn't going good and you need to change this. It's what's going well. What has worked for you in the past? What are you interested in? And we really help the family create their vision, like we were talking earlier. What do you see for your family? What would you like life to be like? And we ask every family member this, not just the youth that's enrolled, but the entire family. Even siblings, what would you like your family to look like?
Yeah.
So the care coordinators are coming in and they're building connection. It's not just, here's your service plan, follow it, which I think is huge. And I appreciate that the state has noticed that kids were falling through the cracks because of this. So I think for families to understand, we're going to come in and we're going to spend some time really learning about you and your family and what you want to change. So there's no mandates like you need to go to counseling, you guys have to do family counseling. It's really turning this to, like I said, families are their own experts of their family. They know what has worked well and what they want for their family. So we respect that.
Well, and Charity, before I let you go, what makes this program so special? You know, you've been in this for 26 years, and actually I think the better first question, and then we'll leave that for the follow-up to wrap out with, is what makes it special. But how have you seen the conversation on mental health change the last 26 years? Because to me, it just seems like we're getting to a point where it's okay to say we're not okay. And 20 years ago, if you said you weren't okay, that was a major problem.
Yeah, I think so. I do think there has been, and hopefully it continues to
Me too.
shift,
Yeah, me
that
too.
it is okay to say, I'm not okay. I need support. I need some help. And so I think what makes this program special is the fact that we are there to support and encourage. It's strength-based. We're really helping families figure out the natural support aspect of it is, again, I think what you were mentioning is I think we get tunnel vision and we think I can't ask for help. I just got to deal with this
Yeah.
on my own. And this program really encourages families to ask for help and to seek support and to look and see who's around. It's community based, which I love. So we're working to wrap these families and then teach them how to wrap themselves. And when I say wrap, I mean get them connected to linkages, resources, supports, and then help them to stay in connection with that, because that's where the kids have fallen through the cracks historically, is we've done a great job of connecting them. Like, here's a resource for this, and here's a linkage for this. Bye. And this program, the huge part of it is the care coordinators, once they link them with resources and other agencies and providers, we're contacting those throughout the phases of treatment and making sure everybody's on the same page, that everybody knows what the family vision is and what we're working towards and what progress we've made and what needs still need to be addressed. That is why I think this program is most beneficial. Is it takes it like the next level. Like, we're right there with the family. What are the barriers? In the past, if a family hasn't been able to get to an appointment because of work schedules or transportation, there's not much done about it. And then that child, that youth, that family fall through the cracks. So this has care coordinators that are working, they're asking those questions. What's keeping you from this service? What's a barrier? How can we help reduce that barrier?
How can people find out more information on this?
If they want to, they can go to Centerstone website. They can call Centerstone and ask for me or my clinical manager. Her name is Vita Fowler. And I will be glad to talk to people. Obviously, I love talking about this program. So if anybody has questions, that is the best way. If you want to do a self-referral, if you're an agency or a school member and you have a student that you think would benefit, or if you're a family member that you want to get your family involved, just call Centerstone. We do have to do an assessment to see if they meet that criteria. But then after that, we can get HFS approval to start, and then we're on our way.
Well, Charity, it's been a really big pleasure talking with you, and I've learned so much and I think it's been a very constructive conversation. I hope you got something out of it too, because the more we talk about that family dynamic, especially right here in this area, I think the better it gets. And Charity, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure talking with you, and I hope we get to talk again soon.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
The time is 10:40 on this 30th day of July. We'll take a quick break, and more Daily Show will come right around the corner next with another great conversation on RiverBender and Roku TV.